There was a time when humanity believed that love could heal everything. But somewhere along the way, we lost it. The world became louder, filled with anger, with fear, with endless noise of opinions and judgment. People began to see each other not as reflections, but as rivals. We built walls instead of bridges and called it protection. We chose pride over peace and called it strength. And slowly, without noticing, the light within us began to fade. In every generation, there comes a moment when humanity looks into its own reflection and asks, "What have we become?" Ours is that generation. We scroll through pain every morning, numb to suffering, blind to beauty. We have access to infinite information, but no wisdom, endless communication, but no connection. We chase success, but lose ourselves on the way. Hatred has become fashionable, anger a new kind of identity. But deep down, when the noise stops, every soul still whispers the same question: where did the light go? One evening, as the sun sank behind a city of tired hearts, an old man sat on a bench feeding pigeons. A young boy came and asked, "Why do you always feed them, Grandpa? They don't even thank you." The old man smiled. "I don't feed them for thanks," he said. "I feed them to remember that giving keeps me alive." The boy didn't understand, but years later he would. When the world felt cold and people were cruel, he would remember the old man's words, that giving keeps the soul warm, even when the world forgets to care. That's where darkness begins, not when people hate, but when people stop caring. Darkness isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the quiet acceptance of injustice. It's the moment we see someone crying on the street and look away. It's when we hear cruelty and stay silent. Darkness begins not outside, but inside, when love becomes inconvenient. Every war, every act of violence, every betrayal, they all start the same way, when someone chooses fear instead of love. But there's something beautiful about humanity. No matter how lost we become, we always find our way back to the light. Because somewhere deep inside, the heart remembers. The heart remembers what the mind forgets. It remembers kindness. It remembers forgiveness. It remembers love. And that memory is stronger than all the noise in the world. When our souls are faced with hatred and anger, the only choice is the light of love. These words are not just a quote, they're a compass. They remind us that love is not a luxury, it's survival. It's the one force that keeps humanity human. We are not here to be perfect. We are here to be present, to hold each other when the world falls apart, to choose compassion when cruelty feels easier, to light a candle when everyone else chooses to curse the dark. That's where love begins, in small acts, in quiet hearts, in ordinary people choosing extraordinary kindness. Because in the end, the light of love isn't found in heaven, it's found in us. But before we can find the light again, we must first understand what took it away, the quiet seed of fear that grew into the forest of hatred. Before hatred ever screamed, it whispered. Before anger ever burned, it trembled. Everything begins small, even the shadows that one day darken the world. Fear is never born loud. It starts as a quiet question in the heart. Am I safe? Will they love me if I fail? That tiny question, unanswered, takes root deep inside a child's soul. Once there was a boy named Eli. He loved to draw. Every morning he sketched the sunrise through the dusty classroom window. One day his teacher frowned. "Stop wasting time on silly things," she said. "Focus on what matters." The class laughed, and something broke inside him. Not his dream, but his belief that it was safe to be himself. From that moment, Eli began to hide his colors. He learned to draw only what others expected: straight lines, safe shapes, answers without emotion. Each day he traded wonder for approval. That is how fear plants its roots, quietly through the desire to belong. Every human learns this lesson differently, some through humiliation, some through abandonment, some through the silence of parents who were too tired to say, "I'm proud of you." Fear is the invisible inheritance passed from one wounded heart to another. It begins as protection. Don't cry. Don't show weakness. Don't trust. At first, it feels like armor, but armor, when worn too long, becomes a cage. The same hands that build our walls eventually forget how to open them. Fear feeds on misunderstanding. A kind word misheard, a gesture misread. One small wound repeated enough times becomes truth. Soon we believe the world is dangerous, people are cruel, and love is a trap. We forget that fear was meant to keep us alive, not keep us apart. When humanity first learned to fear, it was the cry of survival, the thunder, the predator, the darkness beyond the fire. But as the world grew safer, the mind invented new monsters. Now we fear opinions, rejection, failure, loneliness. We fear being unseen as much as we fear being exposed. Our modern fears wear new masks, but the heart feels them the same. One evening, Eli's mother found an old notebook filled with faded drawings. "Why did you stop?" she asked. He shrugged. "It didn't matter." She looked at him for a long time and then whispered, "Maybe it mattered to the boy who drew them." That night, Eli couldn't sleep. He realized he had spent years running from that boy. The one who saw beauty in broken windows, who believed color could heal anything. Fear had protected him, yes, but it had also stolen his voice. And isn't that the story of us all? We build fear like a shelter and wake up one day to find it has no doors. We call it caution, maturity, realism. But sometimes it's just the child in us, still hiding under the table, still waiting for someone to say, "It's okay now. You're safe." Fear lives in memory. It's not always what happened to us, but what we told ourselves afterwards. I must never trust again. I must never fail again. Those sentences become the roots that hold the seed in place. Yet even within fear, something sacred remains, because what we fear most reveals what we love most. We fear loss because we love connection. We fear rejection because we long to belong. Fear, at its core, is love, afraid of being hurt. And if fear was born from love, then love can heal what fear created. The boy in each of us is still drawing, trembling, hesitant, hoping someone will see. The woman within still longs to be held without judgment. The heart still beats beneath the armor. It's waiting for one moment of gentleness to remember who it was before the world said don't. So when you meet anger, pause. When you meet cruelty, look deeper. Beneath every act of hate lives a frightened soul, clutching an old wound that once looked like love. Fear is learned. Love is our origin. And though the seed was planted in darkness, it is the memory of light that makes it grow. Because somewhere, beneath all the noise and armor, every soul still remembers the warmth of being safe. But seeds do not grow in silence alone. They are watered by the stories we live in. And so the seed of fear begins to sprout, not in one